Happy anniversary, darling. I've decided that tonight marks the beginning of a new era. I call them the humiliation rules.
My name is Ken Rhodes, and for 6 years, I believed my marriage was a love story. It turns out I was just the punchline. Our 6th anniversary started like a dream. Marley chose a rooftop restaurant overlooking the river with soft lights and a warm breeze. It was the kind of place made for romance. I showed up expecting an intimate dinner, just the two of us. But when I got there, her 4 best friends were already seated at our table. Tessa, Juno, Belle, and Caton. My stomach sank, but Marley just beamed at me, grabbing my arm. "It'll be fun," she whispered. Fun. That was Marley's word for everything, especially the things that slowly chipped away at me. I sat down, telling myself the same old lie. It's our anniversary. Don't make a scene. Let her be happy. The champagne started flowing. Marley was in her element, laughing loudly, her lavender dress catching the city lights. For a second, I saw the woman I fell in love with, the one who used to laugh with me, not at me. But then Tessa raised her glass for a toast. "To Ken," she announced, with a smirk, "the man who puts up with Marley better than any of us ever could." The whole table erupted in laughter. Juno almost spit out her drink. I forced a smile, swallowing that familiar sting of humiliation. This was just their humor, I told myself. This was just Marley being Marley. She leaned over, mouthing, "Don't be so serious," but she loved it. She loved being the center of attention, the star of her own show. She stood up, raising her own glass. "I have a speech," she declared, and her friends cheered like she was a rock star. "To 6 years with the sweetest, most patient husband," she began, her hand on my shoulder. "He's kind, reliable. A little too serious, honestly." The table roared with more laughter. My chest tightened. This wasn't a celebration. It was a roast. "And starting tonight," she continued, her voice filled with theatrical authority, "I'm announcing new rules for my husband." My blood ran cold. "Rule 1, she proclaimed, "no more correcting me when I exaggerate. Let me be dramatic." Her friends cheered. "Rule 2, Ken cannot complain when I go out with the girls." "Freedom matters." More cheers. "Rule 3, he needs to loosen up. No more sulking." The cheers got louder. I just stared at her. This was the woman who was supposed to be my partner, my safe harbor. Instead, she was selling my dignity for cheap laughs, but she wasn't finished. "And the final, most important rule," she announced with a grand flourish, "whenever I say something wild, embarrassing, or just plain controversial, Ken has to agree and say, 'She's right.' It's our new inside joke." The laughter was thunderous. My own laugh died in my throat. In that moment, watching Marley bask in the glow of my public humiliation, something inside me cracked. A quiet final snap. I picked up my own glass. "May I say something?" I asked. The table quieted down, leaning in, expecting me to play along, to deliver the punchline they were all waiting for. But they weren't getting a joke. They were getting the truth. "Thank you, Marley," I began, my voice soft but steady. "Your speech reminded me of just how much you've changed." The laughter faded completely. Marley's smile froze. "Or maybe," I continued, locking eyes with her, "it reminded me of how much I've been willing to ignore." A heavy silence fell over the table. The only sound was the distant hum of the city. "For years," I said, "I let myself be the patient one. The quiet one, the serious one. I thought that by letting the joke slide, I was being a good husband. I convinced myself that love meant absorbing disrespect, one little jab at a time." Marley started blinking rapidly, the color draining from her face. "Ken, what are you doing?" she whispered. "But tonight," I said, my voice gaining strength, "I realized something important." I looked her straight in the eye. "I'm not your partner. I'm your punchline." Everyone at the table stiffened. Even the waiter who was walking by stopped in his tracks. Marley's voice cracked. Ken, it was just a joke. A joke you've repeated for 6 years, I shot back. In front of our friends, our families, my coworkers. And every single time I told you it bothered me, you called me dramatic or too sensitive. Tonight wasn't new, Marley. Tonight was just public. Her friends looked away, suddenly fascinated by their dinner plates. I leaned forward. And since we're introducing new rules tonight, I'd like to add one of my own. Marley swallowed hard, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and anger. My rule is simple. Respect is not optional. The silence was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Tessa cleared her throat, trying to intervene. Maybe this is a conversation you two should have in. This is between us, I cut her off calmly. But Marley chose to make it public. So here we are. Marley's face flushed a deep, angry red. You're ruining our anniversary, she hissed. I planned all of this to celebrate us. Did you? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Or did you plan a performance where I was the main attraction? Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. She had no answer. You're being dramatic, she finally spat out, falling back on her old defense. I gave a small, sad smile. You say that every time I ask for basic human decency. Her friend Caton finally spoke up, muttering, maybe you guys should talk in private. Marley whirled on him. Not helping, she snapped. I stayed calm. He's right. But you didn't want private. You wanted an audience, so let's give them a show. Her voice trembled. So what now? You want an apology? Fine, Ken. I'm sorry you felt bad. The classic non-apology. The final insult. I just shook my head. I don't want to feel less bad, Marley. I want a marriage where I'm not the butt of the joke they toast to. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them back, refusing to look weak. So you're saying I'm a bad wife? She challenged. I'm saying, I replied, my voice softening with a wave of sorrow, that at some point you stopped being my partner. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. The truth finally landed, heavy and undeniable, right in the middle of our beautifully decorated table. She reached for my arm, her bravado finally crumbling. Ken, don't do this, please. But it was too late. The curtain had fallen. The show was over. I had spent 6 years letting her define me, and in one night, I finally found the courage to write my own script. And in that news story, I was no one's punchline. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, remember that your feelings are valid and your dignity is non-negotiable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.